Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on mounting a new door on a doorway that hasn't had one previously. So first off, I'm going to start by taking all the moldings off of the doorway in order to get it to the right size for my new door to go in here. Now this will also give me clear access to the 2x4 framing around the doorway and make it a lot easier to mount the door frame to that framing. Now you'll notice as I go along, whoever framed up this doorway did not do a very good job. It's not square at all, it's crooked, and I'm gonna have to use a series of shims in order to make sure the door frame is square and that the door can easily close and it's not all crooked. Now to match the rest of the doors throughout the house, we're using a solid wood door. We were actually able to find one at a Habitat resale store where they sell already used materials, and we found this antique door there. So it's a perfect find. It's 2 foot, and that's the exact size of our opening here, so we don't have to trim anything. It already has an antique doorknob on it and hinges, so all I'm gonna need to do is mount that frame to the existing studs right here. Now, just so happens the only stud that is plumb and square with the doorway is actually the side that has the hinges, so this is perfect. I'm actually going to put a few screws to hold the door frame up against the square stud, and then I will need to use some shims in order to mount the other side as well as the top of the frame as well. Now that I have the shims in here, you can almost see it's about 1.5 to 2 inch space up at the top of the door frame. That's how crooked it was. At the bottom, there isn't going to be a shim. So it goes from nothing at the bottom to 2-inch gap at the top. And then it's about a 1/2 inch gap on one side on the top of the doorway to nothing on the other side. So this was way out of square. It's a big mess, but these shims will cover that up, and I'll be able to frame this in with some nice moldings, and you won't even be able to see this. Now, in order to keep the door frame solid and not move around or bow at all, you'll want to put a shim about every foot or 18 inches. This will give it plenty of strength for what you need. It's not going to move around at all. So I'll put some nice long screws through those shims to hold it up against the wall, and that makes everything solid. Now everything looks great, the door closes smoothly, everything has stayed square and is level. So I'm going to move to the other side and take off all the moldings that are on there. Because the doorway was so crooked, I'm not going to be able to reuse the same moldings, and they have to come down in order to put up the new ones. So I'll take that off real quick. Now another thing I wanted to note real quick is you can see here the latch is pointing the wrong direction. This won't close on its own. You're going to have to turn the knob and slide it in, and then it doesn't stay closed, it comes popping back out. So what you need to do is take this apart, and I believe most of the newer knobs actually have a feature that you can turn the latch around. So I'm really hoping that this older antique handle has that same feature. So I'm going to take this apart, see how it works, and see if I can change it around. Now, as I'm taking this apart, I'm going to quickly study this, make sure I know where all the parts are supposed to go. That way, if I accidentally drop a piece or it comes apart, I know how to put it back together. But it doesn't take very long. I notice a very simple feature that allows me to turn that latch around. Now that should be all I need to change the direction, so I can start putting this back together. I'll test it before I put it back on the door, just in case anything gets out of place and it doesn't work, but it should be just fine. right, you can see here the knob is turning freely and that latch is going to work just fine. So everything's in place. I'm going to put this back together and then move on with the project. Now, I really could use your help on this, guys. If you have enjoyed this video or it's been helpful to you so far, hit that like button down below and that will help me out a ton. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not already. I upload a new video each week on things from home renovations, remodeling to woodworking, and a bunch of other DIY projects. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, go check out my channel and hit that subscribe button. Now, I need to make another adjustment because the door isn't wanting to latch without having to push a decent amount of pressure on it. And what happens with these older doors, these antique ones have been painted so many times that the door jambs or the door frame is actually getting too thick for the door. And the stoppers that are around the outside of the frame that stop the door at the right spot, they've gotten too close. So I'm just going to tap that over just a little bit and that will fix the issue. And sure enough, it works great. Hardly have to touch it and it will latch in place like it should. Now I can start putting up the moldings. On this side, I'll first attach the moldings and then I'm going to be sealing up that gap in the doorway from the other side. But I'm first going to put on the moldings and close that in a little bit from at least one side. As always, the project inspector had to come in and check the quality and make sure everything looked good. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm going to be filling in these gaps. I'm going to be insulating them. This dampens the sound, but also adds a nice temperature barrier as well. It's always smart to insulate your walls. If you tear anything out when you're remodeling or changing anything, you want to put the insulation back in. Make sure everything's sealed up, and that is the best way to do it. Now I'm adding in the moldings, and on this side as well as the top, the wall is a little bit thinner than the left side. So I'm actually going to put in a few shims to make that the same width as the door frame itself. That way the molding doesn't sit crooked, and if there are any cracks around the outside in between the wall and the molding, I can easily use some caulk and fill that in and seal it up the way it should be. But this keeps it from getting all tilted if the door frame isn't perfectly even with the wall itself. Now I'm going to take a tube of caulk and I'm going to fill in all the cracks around the door frame, and then any nails or screw holes that have been left from mounting this, I'll also fill that in. So once we put a nice coat of paint over top of this, you won't see any of the screws or fasteners holding the frame as well as the moldings up. It'll be a nice smooth finish when the paint is on. Now that just about finishes up the video for today. I'm gonna quickly put some paint on this and clean it up, and I'll show you guys what that looks like once that's all done. So thanks so much guys for watching. Hope you found this one helpful. If you did, hit that like button down below. Leave a comment in the comment section if you have any suggestions or questions, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Thanks so much guys. I'll see you in the next one.